Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Perfect World based on novel. So let's start. Only after 2 days had passed did traces of their enemy appear. In the distant skies, several dozen birds flew over in great numbers. It was a rather spectacular sight. There were many birds that ignited their divine flames, and one of them was especially resplendent. Firecloud sparrow has someone sitting on its back. He is a true deity. Shaha narrowed his eyes, feeling that things were a bit bad. He is formed from a dragon sparrow, the delegation head of the 100-bird mercenary group. Un11 recognized his identity. Apart from this, there were a man and woman on the backs of vicious birds behind him. Their auras were terrifying, and divine flames surged around them. There was a purple symbol imprint between their brows. They were 2 true deities from the war race. Shaha sucked in a cold breath of air. 3 true deities had arrived. How were they supposed to stop them? If they really were discovered, they would undoubtedly die. Fortunately, they arranged many formations and were currently hidden within them, not being detected. Go. They definitely couldn't hide in here. They had to immediately withdraw, or else they would die tragically. Shaha pulled Un11 over, and then with the earth shrinking into inches great divine ability, he entered the earth and went into hiding. It was because everything had already been properly set up, with a trail leading the experts right to that bone mountain. As soon as they arrived there, even if those experts didn't find the 2 of them, they would still definitely take action. It was because after discovering the golden body fruit, any creatures would find it difficult to calm down. Even if they knew that it was dangerous, they would still try to obtain it. That was just how human nature was, because the golden body fruit was too valuable. It could greatly strengthen one's divine senses. How heaven-defying was this? From a certain perspective, the soul was even more mysterious than the flesh. If one had a chance to strengthen it, then it was the same as undergoing a qualitative improvement. Who wouldn't be tempted? This we actually encountered the legendary divine fruit. Soon after, the 100-bird mercenary group arrived, and they also saw the golden fruit. It was hard for them to calm down. The 3 true deities were all moved. Their divine senses swept through this place. Even though they felt that this place was odd, they still decisively took action, each reaching out a large hand towards the ground. 3 large hands reached down from mid-air, neither of them willing to let the other obtain it. When faced with this heavenly treasure, such a rare divine fruit, the 3 great true deities all wanted to take it for themselves. In addition, during this process, the 3 palms had a secret force swirling about them. They released blinding symbols to compare in power. Lightning appeared in the void. The laws of true deities appeared, interweaving in the void like chains. They sparkled with radiance, and any one of them was enough to remove a mountain peak and collapse the great earth. Suddenly, a streak of white light tore through the air, hacking apart all of the divine chains of order. It then closed in on the 3 large hands. This was a bone blade that was spotlessly white like jade and incomparably sharp. It unexpectedly startled the 3 great true deities, and they quickly retreated. One of the 3 was a bit slower, and as a result, drops of blood scattered out from his palms and fingers. A blade streaked across the void. The 3 of you invade into my territory, and wish to obtain the golden body fruit. Do you all have nothing to say? Underneath the bone mountain, that snow-white skeleton revived. It continued to sit there, but there was a flame that released light glowing through its sockets. In addition, in the next moment, his head shone. A majestic wave of soul force erupted. It was like a sea as it engulfed the ancient battlefield. This was a powerful creature. Even though it didn't have flesh, it had reached the true deity domain for many years. It reached great heights in its cultivation. There were mysterious symbols engraved all over its skeleton. In the sky, the 3 deities narrowed their eyes. They felt that this was a powerful opponent that was incredibly difficult to deal with. The firecloud sparrow and the group of vicious birds all backed up. They felt a tremendous pressure. The power of true deities made them tremble. There was a suffocating type of feeling. Dao friend, what kind of requirements do you have? This golden body fruit should be useless to you. The 100-bird mercenary group's delegation head spoke. He was a dragon sparrow, but was currently in human form. A head of red hair scattered down. His face was handsome, and his eyebrows reached his temples. His eyes were bright and full of expression. His entire body gave off a powerful feeling. That kind of thing, forget about them, it was something not even a heavenly deity could obtain. The first was that there weren't many, and the second was that it was too valuable. Who didn't want to reach a higher cultivation realm? As long as they could obtain it, they could cross the checkpoint and even reconstruct their flesh, further perfecting it. It was clear that this snow-white skeleton wanted to recreate his flesh, as well as break through its current cultivation realm. It wished to undergo rebirth, emerging from the flames as a deity anew. Dao brother, you are forcing others. The golden body fruit is not worth that much, said the war race woman. Her beautiful thick hair was coiled up high with a golden ornament inserted at the center. Even though she was close to middle age, her skin was still snow-white and her eyes clear. Her aura was outstanding, exuding a sense of elegance and nobility. Then that's that. I do not have any other desires. The bone deity said indifferently, a look of losing interest. The three true deities didn't immediately say anything, all of them remaining silent. The atmosphere immediately became heavier. Daoist brother, making things easier for others will bring convenience onto yourself as well. This golden body fruit is useless to you, so why don't you just hand it over to us? We can compensate you with secret treasures, divine weapons, and other things, said the dragon sparrow. I do not need those. A single blade in my hand is enough. A soul flame burned extremely powerfully within the skeleton's eye sockets. His entire head became as brilliant as jade. Dao friend, there is no need to be so stubborn. Both of us are cultivators, and amiable relations are what is long-lasting. Disputes will lead towards disaster and calamity. The war race middle-aged man advised. Are you all threatening me? The bone deity sat there. The bone blade on its knees trembled, releasing King Cheong sounds. There was immediately a wave of biting cold killing intent that spread outwards. The scene immediately entered a deadlock. The bone deity was extremely unyielding, while it was impossible for the three true deities to back off. They wanted the golden body fruit badly, because it was too useful for them. Daoist brother, have you seen a male and female roaming about here? The war race's middle-aged woman spoke, wishing to alleviate the atmosphere. I have sensed something, but I didn't pay too much attention to them. The bone deity spoke, its voice concise. The three great experts looked at each other. Then, their bodies shone, each of them producing a spiritual body, and they displayed secret methods to search about this ancient place. You all should leave. If there is no tribulation crossing divine lotus, I do not wish to exchange the golden body fruit. The bone deity gave them a look. Not good, someone chased down here, discovering our traces. Shaha was shocked. The formation he had set up beforehand was destroyed. True deity. Yun Shi's expression changed. This level of expert was definitely not someone they could deal with. Change locations. Shaha quickly made this decision. Are you going towards that bone mountain? Yun 11 immediately understood his intentions. He was desperately trying to find a way out of this impasse. Now that a true deity appeared, the two of them were definitely not her opponent. That bone tomb was definitely strange, so perhaps it could stop this enemy. Shaha displayed the earth escape technique, quickly arriving below the bone mountain. As soon as he approached this place, he saw an expanse of dark light that pulsed about. That place was extremely mysterious. There was a dense mist here, as well as a black flame that was throbbing about that unexpectedly prevented them from passing through. It was unknown what laid here. Shaha secretly used the dual pupil to observe it, and then his mind was shaken. There was an enormous blood pond here that was several dozen li in distance. Bright red blood surged like an ocean wave. Upon seeing this scene, he felt his scalp going numb. This was definitely not some good place. In addition, when looking through the dual pupil, he discovered that there was an enormous creature in the blood pond. The aura it exuded made one's heart pound fiercely and soul tremble. How terrifying. There is a blood pond below the great pool, and there is a creature here. Yet a true deity is actually willing to serve as a gravekeeper. He quickly stopped his advance, and then he slowly closed in on the black flame. Yun 11, you should hide first. He had Yun 11 hide in the purple bone cauldron. Then, he carefully tested things out, entering the dark light step by step. He noticed that it didn't harm his body, and then he hid himself too. The war race's middle-aged woman searched about, arriving in this place with the time mirror in hand. While carrying cold killing intent, she quickly revealed a look of shock. The time mirror unexpectedly lost effectiveness when it shone towards the dark light. Shaha could see everything clearly from his hiding spot. He couldn't help but be shocked. It turns out the other party had this type of secret treasure that enabled her to find this place. The two of you can enter this place, so how could I not? The woman held the time mirror in hand and then, while on her guard, entered the dark light, closing in on the blood pool. Shaha was a bit nervous, not because the woman was getting closer to this place, but because he was about to take a huge risk by attacking the blood pond. This will definitely produce a series of terrifying after effects. Not only might this place turn into a place of destruction, it would also affect the great battle on the surface. Whose hands the golden body fruit would fall into would most likely be decided as well. The war race woman was stupefied. Even though she was a true deity, when she saw this blood pool, she still couldn't help but feel shocked. She said to herself in horror, "Heavenly deity rebirth. You all are courting death, actually daring to disturb the Great One." It was furious. Even though it was by itself, it wasn't at a disadvantage when fighting these three great true deities. Even though its cultivation realm wasn't higher, it was still about to break through its cultivation realm. The bone blade it held was incomparably sharp. It erupted with endless symbols, hacking open the void. With a pu sound, a terrifying wound was opened up in the dragon sparrow's body. Blood splashed outwards. Things aren't looking good. We should quickly retreat. The dragon sparrow and war race's two great experts had a bad feeling. A powerful domain was quickly spreading from underground that made their hearts pound. They felt extremely uneasy. The bone deity was also quite troublesome and difficult to defeat. The bone deity's eyes were cold. It stared deeply at them, and then, without worrying about anything else, it rushed directly into the bone tomb. At this moment, Shaha was currently rushing towards the surface, charging towards the golden body tree to pick its fruit. It was because he had a feeling that a string of unforeseeable events was going to happen after the blood pool was stirred. The other party was distracted, so he had a rare opportunity. Shaha arrived. He rushed out from the earth, arriving at just the right time to seize the golden body fruit. Golden light surged like flames, illuminating everything. There was also an intoxicating fragrance that seeped into one's bones. A refreshing feeling immediately overwhelmed him, one that made him feel like he sprouted wings and ascended into the heavens. He was shocked. He couldn't pick it. Even though the little tree was about to wither away, it was incomparably sturdy, as if it was created from divine gold. The stem of that fruit was also like this. He was unexpectedly unable to get it off on the first try. He had heard Unileven say that this golden body tree was a rare weapon refinement material, and sure enough, this was true. Even someone with flesh as powerful as his couldn't break it, just come off already. He used a bit more force. The golden body tree shone, and then the stem of the fruit broke. However, right at this moment, a shocking transformation took place. A powerful wave of energy surged from beneath him that blasted him into the air. He coughed out blood. If not for the magical force immunity, he would have definitely been killed. It was a resplendent expanse of symbols that blasted on his body. The war race's middle-aged woman appeared, her beautiful hair curled up, the golden ornament shining. Her jade hands were raised. She rushed out from the earth, and then she immediately seized the golden body fruit that released a strong fragrance. Shaha felt great resentment. He actually had the divine fruit seized from him at the critical moment, leaving him furious. This was the war race woman's spiritual body that entered underground to kill Shaha. Even though the blood pool had injured her, it didn't greatly hinder her movements. She unexpectedly secretly arrived in this place. It could be said that her goal was exactly the same as Shaha's. After discovering that unforeseen things had occurred underground, she came to pick the medicine out of great risk. In the sky, the three great true deities stopped. They didn't travel that far. They gazed towards the ancient land, and then they couldn't help but be shocked. They all revealed looks of pleasant surprise. The golden body fruit is at hand, quickly provide assistance. The war race woman's true body was extremely excited. She made her way around the bone mountain, and quickly chased after it. She was extremely stirred up. Her spiritual body had done great work. In reality, they never had any intention of leaving from the start. The golden body fruit was too precious. Even though they knew that this place was dangerous, they still wanted to move based on the circumstances. On the battlefield, the bone blade was like a rainbow as it hacked apart one of the war race middle-aged woman's spiritual body's magical artifacts. It pressed forward, the white expanse of blade radiance wreaking havoc like a sea. It was extremely terrifying. Cease your insolence. In the rear, the three experts arrived. A great battle erupted. Shaha broke away from the battlefield. He spat out several mouthfuls of blood. This great loss made him feel rather gloomy inside. He was actually attacked from behind and had his precious medicine stolen. It was hard for him to swallow his resentment. It was clear that in the eyes of the three true deities, the golden body fruit was much more important than him. Not a single person chased after him. They were all fighting the bone deity. What was shocking was that the shaking bone mountain not too far out calmed down again, and then the domain released from underground disappeared. Heavenly deity rebirth. Shaha said softly. He concealed his body, and then he left, not wishing to become prey after the great battle ended. You all dare take something that belongs to me. You all are not allowed to leave. The skeleton held his own bone blade and chased after them, erupting with heaven overflowing killing intent. The dragon sparrow rushed into the distance. It had suffered a serious injury. It followed the other two great experts, clearly trying to increase its chances of getting away by sharing the danger. It feared that it might be killed if it stayed behind. The bone deity released a cold laugh. He was a hair from the next cultivation realm and more powerful than the other three, so he wasn't scared of them joining hands. This was a chaotic battle. The bone deity slaughtered after them, and they continuously fought intensely. The three deities suffered quite bitterly under that heavenly deity magical artifact. Their fighting strength was already weakened, so they were no match. As the battle progressed, the three individuals' bones were broken and their muscles severed. Not only did they receive cuts from the blade, they suffered many palm strikes as well. There were many parts of their bodies that were cracked and about to break apart. The dragon sparrow was in the worst state. After turning back to its original form, both its wings were chopped off, and one of its claws even exploded. There were bloody holes all over his body. He was on the verge of falling. In that instant, Shaha used both the Kuan Peng technique and the earth withdrawal great divine ability, turning his body into a streak of light that tore through the great earth. He had been following along the entire time, watching the great battle in secret, only that he stayed rather far away, and not easily closing in. Only when the bone deity had departed far into the distance did he erupt with power and chase after that woman's trail. On a stone mountain, the war race woman descended. There was blood all around her body. Her bones were broken and her muscles cut. She had suffered unimaginably serious injuries, and there were cracks all over her body. She was on the verge of splitting apart, only managing to escape here with great difficulty. She really couldn't hold on anymore. She descended, and then she immediately ate a spiritual pill before sitting here to rest. Shaha silently closed in, his entire being seemingly merging with the void. His expression was cold and his gaze merciless. The moment he descended on the stone mountain, he suddenly increased speed. Who? The war race woman was extremely vigilant, noticing that something wasn't right. However, the moment her eyes opened, a youth already slaughtered over. Shaha took action, his entire body erupting with symbols. The reincarnation divine ability was perfectly displayed, surrounding the blood-covered body in front of him. What kind of precious technique is this? The war race woman was shocked. She was seriously injured, and she was severely lacking in spiritual essence. Her condition was currently worsening. She felt her vitality quickly flowing out from her. Her life force was simply being seized. She quickly retaliated, her entire body erupting with symbols to kill this youth. When Shaha saw this, he was quite shocked. After landing his attack, the reincarnation force operated in the other party's flesh. If it was anyone else, they would definitely age greatly and quickly deteriorate. This woman was a true deity. In the battle before, even though she was seriously injured, right now, she held on, not being killed by a single strike. Hand over your life. Shaha roared. He threw himself over to kill this enemy and seize the golden body fruit. You dare come here to try to kill me? Go to hell. The war race woman shouted. Her entire body shone, and magical force shone. However, her flesh couldn't handle this type of impact, and began to quickly split apart. In addition, an alarming thing happened. Even though her magical force was vigorous and all types of symbols landed on Shaha's body, it wasn't able to effectively seriously injure the other party this time. Shaha coughed out large mouthfuls of blood, but he successfully held on. He had the magical force immunity type of ability, but against a true deity, it was still not enough to completely eradicate the other party's symbols. Shaha released a roar. He pressed forward, formed fist imprints, and then smashed it downwards. Two fists shone and erupted with incomparable divine force. This type of fleshly power was enough to blast a great mountain into pieces. She used an arm to defend herself, and as a result her palms and fingers became numb from the fist imprint. The other party's flesh was sturdy to a terrifying level, completely unlike that of a supreme expert. After just this strike alone, the war race middle-aged woman's body swayed, and many areas of her flesh split open. Blood splashed high into the air. She was on the verge of falling apart. It was because she had just too many injuries on her body, and too many bones were broken and muscles cut. There were even a few areas that were going to fall from her body. After suffering this attack, her condition naturally worsened to the most terrifying degree, and like existence, today, you actually climbed to my head. You are courting death. The war race woman berated. The area between her brows shone, forming a symbol that pressed towards Shaha's body. Then, Shaha raised the pill furnace, enlarging it and then sending it forward to suppress and kill the other party, as well as block these symbols. The first strike ended in his disadvantage. He never expected the other party to be so powerful, able to injure him even before her death. Blood shot out from his mouth. As a result, he raised this treasure, not wishing to take risks himself. The pill furnace trembled, releasing a long and drawn-out sound. Shaha formed a fist imprint again. He continued his ferocious attacks. In the end, the war race woman couldn't hold on any longer. Her flesh quickly ruptured, releasing sounds continuously. Several dozen areas shot out blood, her body was crumbling apart. I am unwilling. She raised her head and roared angrily. If not for the bone deity leaving her in such a state, how could it have ended like this for her? For a true deity to die under the hands of a supreme expert, this was truly too depressing. Unwilling. You should just suck it up. Shaha said coldly. He seized the moment and bombarded her crazily with attacks, because the magical immunity time limit was about to end. When Shaha's fist smashed outwards this time, half of the war race woman's body was dyed in blood. Her right shoulder shattered, falling off her body. Shaha shook the pill furnace, and then a scorched black head fell out. It then split apart, now completely dead. As for the ruined body on the mountain, it had long been ignited by Shaha's innate Tao flame, and burned under the fiery radiance. This time, he killed a true deity in a clean and efficient manner. In his hands, the golden fruit shone. A rich fragrance that made one's pores relax wafted through the air, making him feel extremely relaxed. You killed her. When Unileven came out from the cauldron, learned of the result and saw the ruined traces, she was utterly shocked. This was not a divine flame realm expert, but a true self-realm's great figure, yet she was actually killed. There were rumors that exceptional talents at the consummate level of the supreme expert realm could kill divine flame realm experts, but never had someone like that killed a true self-realm extreme expert. Moreover, this youth in front of her shouldn't even have reached the consummate level of the supreme expert realm. All right. Unileven nodded. However, she was inwardly admiring Shaha. Regardless, a youth killed a true deity. This was simply a legend. If word got out, it would definitely shake up all of the great ancient sects. Shaha also felt rather moved. He was now 17 years old, and this was the most powerful enemy he had killed so far, so it was worth rejoicing about. Let's go. Shaha called over Unileven. Are we going to leave this ancient battlefield? Unileven frowned. Such a great thing happened where a true deity died. The war race would definitely be furious. We're going hunting. Let's kill the dragon sparrow first, and then we can leave, Shaha said. After speaking, he dragged her with him, and like a streak of lightning, he quickly rushed towards the mountain range. You are still going to take action. Unileven was shocked. Unileven immediately felt like fainting. Did this fella come here to satisfy his desire for good food? She couldn't help but say, "You are hunting the dragon sparrow to eat it." Of course. When she saw how righteous and self-confident he sounded, as if it was to be expected, Unileven immediately became speechless. What kind of person was this? Shaha looked around, and in the end, he actually lost the trail. This dragon sparrow disappeared inside this mountain range. There wasn't any aura, we lost it. Unileven felt regretful, impossible. With my hunting experience, it definitely can't escape. For it to suddenly disappear means that it is panicking. It most likely used a secret method to disappear out of fear that the bone deity would chase over. It is just hiding. Shaha put on the appearance of an aged veteran. Are you really that certain? Of course. I am an excellent hunter. It can fool the bone deity, but it won't deceive me. Shaha grew up in the wasteland since he was young, so he possessed abundant hunting skills. Sure enough, 2 hours later, they discovered some more clues and followed it into a mountain region. They finally discovered the dying dragon sparrow. The mountain valley was full of blood. The dragon sparrow's injuries were too severe, even more so than the war race's woman. It was already about to die. It ingested quite a few pills and was recovering here. Its wings were hacked off, and its claw exploded. It made it here purely on its last drop of magical force. You all are following the path to your own doom. It was extremely vigilant. It immediately woke. When it saw the two close in, its eyes erupted with divine radiance. Stop trying to fool others. I already killed one like you. I came specifically for you, Shaha said indifferently. In the end, he dealt with the dragon sparrow, and let Unileven out. He had a sullen expression. He was extremely depressed. Unileven felt as if she was going mad. This was clearly a world-shaking accomplishment that could overlook all peers, yet in the end, this fella had this kind of expression after winning. It truly left others speechless. This time, the two quickly left, fleeing into the distance and escaping this battlefield. It was because they knew that this place would become chaotic soon. With the death of two true deities and the appearance of the golden body fruit, what power would easily let this go? 2 days later, a powerful wave of energy swept through the entire blood plains, shaking heaven and earth. It traveled far into the distance. That type of fluctuation felt as if stars were collapsing. What is this? Shaha was shaken up. This type of power was too shocking. Resplendent symbols blossomed in the sky, illuminating the skies. It was as if 3,000 great worlds were opening. In that instant, countless demonic gods appeared, seated around a resplendent figure and chanting in the void. It set off the creature at the center as the highest deity, the ancient ancestor, revived. Yunshi's voice was trembling, and then she felt incomparable joy. She knew that the day when they were freed arrived. They finally lasted until this moment. Don't act rashly. Shaha grabbed her. His expression was incomparably serious as he stared at the distant sky. In the distant end of the horizon, an enormous figure appeared. It sat there within the indistinct expanse. Above its head was the blue dome of heaven. It overlooked everything. What is that? Yunshi's heart trembled. That creature was just sitting there, yet it filled heaven and earth. It was as if all deities and ancestors descended to chant the Tao. This was a war emperor. He established his reputation in the archaic legend, creating a legend and forming the base of the emperor clan legend. This was an unmatched ancient existence. No one expected him to still be alive. Based on the Bone Book's records, he should have passed away a long time ago from the endless passage of time, becoming one with the earth. How could he appear again? This was an inconceivable scene. It was hard for others to believe what they were seeing. The war emperor overlooked the skies. He had previously shaken up all 3,000 provinces, and overlooked the 9 heavens and 10th earth. He had bathed in the blood of countless giants and established itself as an unmatched existence. There were many glorious figures in the past, but when any one of them was brought up, there wasn't a single clan who wouldn't tremble. This was a living taboo and legend. Now that he appeared, who could contend against him? Everyone was saying that he died, and this had long become the final conclusion. However, now, he unexpectedly appeared again in the higher realms, a great dream, and millions of autumns passed. Who could have foreseen this? In that instant, countless powerful existences between heaven and earth were alarmed. There were even more people who were horrified in the direction of the demon province. There were heavenly deities who felt chills run down their backs. The old celestial has revived. There was a sect master who said softly. His expression was grave, and his voice was trembling. The entire demon province seemed to be trembling. The figure of the old celestial in the blood plains seemed to have crossed time and place. Everyone became aware of its existence. Countless eyes were cast in this direction, and there wasn't anyone who wasn't experiencing great fear. Life and cultivation should be a never-ending journey of self-improvement. What forgetting and what deviation? The War Emperor spoke. His indistinct figure became more majestic and grand, occupying heaven and earth. The War Emperor appeared. He hadn't entered the blood plains yet, and that indistinct figure was just a magical projection. His true body was still in the demon province. When he spoke like this, it was naturally even more world-shaking. The countless ancient sects of the demon province all heard these words. There wasn't a single creature that didn't feel terrified. He is still alive. The War Emperor is still in this world. In that instant, the world trembled. The blood plains were shaken, and everything in a range of several dozen li rumbled. A large black crack appeared. Mountains and seas moved, and the sun and moon were about to fall. This was an intangible pressure between the two. Through the air, they encountered each other and made a slight contact, yet this type of terrifying result was brought forth. At this moment, forget about Shaha and Un11, even the white-bone true deity inside the ancient battlefield, the Vajra demons, and others were all shivering in fear. They all hid themselves, not willing to display the slightest bit of arrogance. What kind of existence was this? Just a will alone, a fluctuation of their auras would produce such a terrifying scene. If they displayed their power, it would be unimaginable. The War Emperor was unmatched in battle, becoming an emperor through war. He had pressed forward unhindered his entire life, sweeping before everything in front of him. The old celestial created an undefeated legend that connected the past and present. It was hard for him to meet an opponent in this world. Heavenly power. This was the true supreme heavenly power. From man to heaven, this was not just a saying. There really was this type of power. How could this be? It's just too terrifying. Who can contend against this? This is the celestial race's unrivaled taboo existence. It is terrifying after all. No wonder he could roam unhindered through the 3,000 realms in the archaic era. It is hard for him to meet an opponent. Forget about others, even when a few sect masters saw this scene, they all shivered inwardly as well, their souls even shaking. This might be the peak of human Tao. Fine. The War Emperor replied. A streak of lightning hacked over. He also disappeared. Peace was restored to the blood plains, as if nothing had happened. However, that type of oppressive atmosphere didn't scatter for a long time. The momentary silence and stillness were shattered. As if comets tore through the sky, a silver-robed individual appeared, in his hands a spear. He traveled through the air and stood in the heavens above, pointing his finger towards the battlefield. Celestial race, come. Fight me. Otherwise, your people cannot leave. Then, dazzling radiance appeared in the sky. Other experts traveled through the air. The heavenly deity sealed off the battlefield, not willing to let any prey leave. Do you think my celestial race is scared of you? A woman moved through the sky with a golden bone bell in her hands. She exuded the pressure of a heavenly deity. Deity devour the heavens. A barbaric beast roared. It opened its bloody mouth, devouring several deities. It was an incredibly bloody sight, true moon-shattering roar. An enormous vicious beast appeared that was even imposing than a mountain. It opened its mouth and roared, and then several experts exploded in the void. Sparkling white bone pieces sticky with blood descended onto the ground. Bloody mists pervaded the air. It was a spectacle too horrible to endure. There were too many races involved. There were people from the various great mercenary groups, as well as other experts the two races invited over. They all slaughtered over. Shaha and Un11 were alarmed. This battle exceeded their imaginations. Not only was it for the sake of the Heaven's Mandate Stone, it was now a war that decided their clan's fate. The results would affect hundreds of thousands of years. It was clear that they were being caught up in it as well. Let's leave and inform the clansmen, Yun said. Things aren't looking too good. The celestial race is at a disadvantage. The ones that are rushing into this battlefield are almost all from the war race. If we leave like this, we will become targets. Shaha frowned. That's because the war race made abundant preparations and had conspired greatly. They invited many extremely well-known powerful races to surround and wipe out my clan. Yun was worried. In the past, there were 6 great celestials in this world, establishing their clan's glory. It's my race's people. Yun felt anxious and furious, but it was already too late to save them. Within the Blood Plains, the great battle reached high into the sky and involved many regions. The celestial race of this region were defeated. A small group fled here, but it was difficult for them to avoid death. Help me. A youth among them with a rather young and tender face clearly saw Yun and Shaha. He helplessly reached out his hand, blood continuously being coughed from his mouth. Unfortunately, it was already too late. That youth's eyes grew dim, and then with a putong sound, he fell just like the other clansmen. No. Yunxi's nose felt sour. Now that the battle reached this point, it truly deviated from its original intention, no longer purely for the purpose of seizing the Heaven's Mandate Stone, but instead a great battle for the fate of a clan. Their goal was not to completely wipe out their old enemy. There are 2 left. Your luck isn't bad. The leader on an armored horse spoke. He gave Shaha a look, and then he stared at Yun, feeling extremely stunned. A girl this beautiful really is rare in this world. Since there is such a stunning beauty here, capture her and bring her back to the clan for me. With a wave of his hand, several dozen armored mountains rushed forward, surrounding Shaha and Yun. Go to hell. Suddenly, someone took action from the side. Divine flames rushed outwards, unexpectedly more powerful than the leader to attack Shaha. The Pishio Precious technique smashed over. I am the real leader. He revealed a sinister smile. He was with the other soldiers, while the leader bossing everyone around was unexpectedly his spiritual body. What left him shocked was that the symbols were ineffective. When they blasted onto Shaha, they were completely wiped out. Meanwhile, his spiritual body cried out miserably. Its precious technique was useless, and after trading blows with Shaha continuously, it exploded in midair. Even the barbaric beast mount was killed. Hand over your life. Shaha rose into the air. He didn't have much time left, so he had to quickly decide this battle. The leader's true body's expression changed. He quickly backed up, but it was useless. Shaha's palms and fingers shone. He quickly closed in, erupting with his great flesh divine might. From then on, Shaha and Yun continuously fought bloody battles, wiping out more than 10 troops. They moved while bathed in blood. If you can't, then just put me down and escape by yourself, Yun said. The most dangerous time was when a true deity came. If Shaha hadn't led him into a Vajra demon's nest, they would have likely encountered quite a crisis. It's fine, they haven't found us yet. Shaha said to himself. Are these 2 the ones that were to be captured? Soon after, they encountered another troop. A young man within this group saw Yun, and then using a precious mirror, he revealed her true appearance. It's them. Surround them. He was overjoyed, ordering the several dozen experts under him to take action. Little prince, please be careful. An old servant spoke. The youngster was the descendant of king, but he himself hadn't been granted an ability title yet. This had always made him feel rather upset. Our generation has 3 great war kings, and one of them is nearby. I want to capture her before him. Yun was shocked. The 3 war kings came. Those were the illustrious young supreme beings of the younger generation, and one of them were actually nearby. She looked towards Shaha and revealed a look of worry. I am actually quite excited to see just how formidable these war kings really are. Shaha said to himself, his eyes shining. One has to understand that this was the War Emperor clan, one of the 10 great races. It was difficult for them to produce a single war king after several tens of generations. For this generation, to have 3 of them really was unordinary. Shaha's body was visibly shrinking, going from his normal height to 2 inches in height. He was being sucked towards the precious bottle, and was already by the bottle's opening. That old servant assisted him in activating this bottle. This precious bottle was warm and smooth like jade. It was spotlessly white, and shining with a few extremely special symbols. It could collect tall mountains and great rivers. This bottle was extremely terrifying and extraordinary. You all capture that woman. I will kill him. The youngster was rather content. This was the first time he activated the bottle, yet it unexpectedly succeeded. The old servant was not a match, and was killed by Shaha. The group that surrounded Un-11 were greatly alarmed. They wanted to escape, but it was too late. Shaha took action decisively, killing them one after another. No one could get away. It's now your turn. Shaha pressed forward, taking action against that youngster. This battle was without any suspense. Even though this young war race youth was unordinary, he only survived a few dozen moves against Shaha in the end before dying. In reality, in the same generation, there weren't many people who could exchange several dozen moves with Shaha. What he accomplished was already quite a rare thing that few could accomplish. Shaha put away the yellow earth and carefully examined the fine jade bottle. He was a bit speechless. This was quite a good treasure, but a lot of its symbols had been damaged. What a pity, he felt rather regretful. You actually stopped a divine artifact. Un-11 was shocked. During the latter half of the night, he suffered another injury. His entire body was covered in blood. He was almost killed by that true deity. More than 10 bones were broken, and there was a crack between his brows. Shaha's injuries were extremely severe. If not for the earth into inches great divine ability being formidable, granting him the earth escape technique, and allowing him to enter the depths of the battlefield, he would have died right there and then. Despite this being the case, his injuries were still extremely serious. His foundation was damaged. Un-11 freed herself from the bone cauldron and appeared in front of him. When she saw this scene, she felt extremely uncomfortable, and tears appeared in her eyes. I'm sorry, I've involved you in my troubles, she told Shaha to continue alone and not worry about her any longer. You don't have to blame yourself. Even if I leave alone, I won't be able to leave. The war race wouldn't give up, Shaha said. Un-11 sighed softly. This kindness was too great. Shaha escorted her several hundreds of thousands of li. If not for this youth being here, she would have long been captured or killed. Thank you. She didn't know what was proper to say. You two won't be able to get away. Suddenly, an ice-cold voice sounded. A line of people pressed forward. War King. He had hurried over, and it was precisely him that spoke. Do you dare fight against me alone? Shaha's body was covered in blood. He stood up, exuding a type of intimidation without anger. It was as if a tiger or dragon was making its appearance. I originally still intended to take action, but what a pity, right now, you are unsuitable. With such severe injuries, any supreme expert can kill you. The War King spoke with an incredibly cold and merciless voice. In the current world, 3 War Kings existed, but this was definitely an extremely rare thing. Less nonsense. Just hand over your life. Shaha shouted. I don't want to dirty my hands. The War King carried his hands behind him. His phoenix-like eyes were chilly, his skin pure white like jade. Even his hair was sparkling and shining. His entire body gave off an otherworldly aura. This was a type of humiliation. He looked down on Shaha in his current state, feeling that it was beneath him for them to fight. He felt that this person was not worth his time. Kill him for me. He turned around, showing disdain beneath contempt. Upon receiving the order, a few supreme experts rushed over. That true deity also took action in secret, quickly closing in. Shaha sighed. He turned around to escape, entering the depths of the earth again. The true deity pursued him closely. When he appeared on the surface again, the glaring red light of 3 blood moons seeped through the ancient battlefield. However, it was still unable to conceal the pallor of Shaha's face. His injuries were too severe. More than 10 of his bones were broken. His arm and leg bones were even more so broken at several areas. If not for his magical force supporting him, he would already be lying on the ground. In addition, regardless of whether it was his primordial spirit or his flesh, they both suffered horrifying injuries, harming his foundation. If this continued, he really might die from his foundation being dried up. What's wrong? Un-11 felt anxious. She brought out a bit of spiritual spring to have him drink it. Her stunning face was full of worry. Let me rest for a bit. Shaha was extremely exhausted. Just now, he suffered another blow from the true deity at a distance. His body almost broke apart, and his primordial spirit almost scattered. Shaha had returned and found the War King's group. "You are quite brave, daring to meet me again." The War King was extraordinary and aloof. His long eyebrows reached his temples, staring out with his phoenix-like eyes. His body looked like it was made from precious stones. His entire body had a type of brilliance. He was exceptionally powerful and terrifying. "You think you are worth anything? I returned to kill you," Shaha said softly, but there was an unquestionable pressure as he walked over step by step. Under the blood moons, his tall and straight figure was especially heroic. His eyes were resplendent. The great earth began to tremble along with his footsteps, resonating with him, pulsing with his movements. Blinding holy radiance erupted from his body. It was as if a great emperor had descended into this world. "Who am I? I am the War Emperor clan's current generation's War King. And who do you think you are?" The War King's eyes were extremely cold and ruthless. "I am not much, but there will be a day when I will establish an emperor clan alone, creating an emperor race with my own power. I do not need to stand in my ancestors' shade and will be an emperor in my own right," Shaha calmly said. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.